It is day 37 of the Zombie Hunter build. Today what I plan on doing is figuring out a way to create an adapter that will mate a G-wagon frame and the mounting locations of the stock G-wagon bumper to the mounting locations on a Jeep Wrangler TJ bumper. So they align differently. So if you look at the G-wagon bumper, the bolts go in horizontally. However, on a TJ, they drop in vertically. All right, so they're up and down. And then obviously the frame rails are, you know, different distance apart and things like that. So I have to try to brainstorm and figure out a way to do this. My thinking is that I'm going to get a piece of steel about, you know, what the stock size for the G-wagons, and then have it adapt that way. So it'll be kind of like an L, and then also on top, so that I can drop the oh, you know what? I might need C channel actually. Huh. I don't think an angle will work. I think I might need C channel so I can get it to going through both sides. If not, I'll use two L's and box it in. Maybe I'll do it that way. I don't know. So I'll figure that out. So today that's the priority. I have a couple hours to work on it, but at least I'll kind of brainstorm and figure out how I plan on doing this, because it's going to be a challenge. But you know, I don't see why somebody didn't already do this. You know, there's such a huge aftermarket for Jeep parts, and the thing is, the dimensions are pretty close to, you know, the width of the G-wagon body. So we'll see. I'll play around with it, and then hopefully it works out. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. Like I said, the G-wagon bumpers mount horizontally, and Wrangler bumpers, on the other hand, mount into the frame vertically. Okay. The distance between the frame rails on the G-wagon are 70 centimeters. Okay. On the inner frame rails. The distance between the center of this hole and that hole on a Wrangler are 78 centimeters. So there's a difference of 4 centimeters on each side. So what I'll have to do is create a bracket that'll come out this way and come out at an angle, right? There's going to be a angle, and have the mounting holes mount 4 centimeters outwards of this piece. All right. So I'll have to do some measurements and cut some steel and figure out. Now, an easy way to do that would be to just get the little pieces coming out, and then get some flat steel and just put it over the, you know, and just weld it to those pieces. But that's going to be awfully heavy, especially when I put this heavy bumper on there, and then on top of that, a winch, right? So I don't know if I want to add all that additional weight. I kind of like the idea of having two separate pieces. That gives me a little bit room to play also. If I bump one, I'm not going to completely bend both frame rails. You know, if I hit it hard enough, I might just bend one, and that will end up bending or whatever, you know. So it'll be a little bit easier if I have two separate pieces, and also lighter. Definitely probably wouldn't be as strong, but I'm not too concerned about that. I mean, the bumper's strong enough, and I'll use probably 3/8 steel to do this. All right, so I decided to, you know, I have two old 460 bumpers. Okay, this one was a little bit mangled, so it's a little bit beat up. I was thinking about refurbishing it, restoring it, and then selling it, because they are expensive, and people who want the original parts are looking for them. So I have that, and I mean, I don't know how much I can get for it. I mean, I see them going for up to $300. So I was thinking about selling both of my old bumpers, and then using that to kind of get back some money to to cover some of the expenses of the build. So I took this one out, and I was gonna look at the brackets and measure them, and I bought a bunch of steel, different angle and flat bar to try to recreate, and build my mount. But then I thought about it. I was like, why try to reinvent the wheel? I already have this created, and it's looks like it's the same thing, about same thickness as the steel that I purchased, and it's designed for the car. It already has the the parts where the screws go in. Everything's already done for me. So I plan on now using this as my bracket. So what I'll do is I'll end up I think I'm just going to cut this out, cut it along where the welds are, so I have it's still strong, and then use that to adapt to this instead. I have to measure it because this bumper is thicker. It'd be nice if it just slid, if the piece just slid in, but unfortunately the frame rails on the Wrangler are not as wide as the bumper is. So I'll modify it from there, but I'm just going to take those brackets off. And then the nice thing is also, if I need to make some extra pieces or do anything, I have a bunch of extra steel here, and it's good quality steel that I can use, and then return that, and that's like at least $70 worth of steel right there, or $50 maybe. I don't know what it was. All right, so the initial cuts are done. I have to now cut it along this line and finish it up, and then I can always grind it down from there. Okay, depending on how it's gonna fit, each bracket's gonna fit in there. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna have to, because this is slightly larger, I think it's like 1.5 centimeters taller than the mounting point for the Jeep frame, I'm gonna have to end up cutting a little bit off the top here and then welding in steel, make it flat again. We'll see. I might have to cut the front off of this too, and then just keep the bracket. I don't know. We'll see. I'll play around with it, but this is what's going, and there's no going back now. So there's no way I'm going to be able to sell this. So yeah, back to work. Alright, so I basically cannibalized the stock bumper just for these brackets, okay? So what's nice about them is they have you know, the correct mounting locations. They have everything. They're super strong. They have everything I need. The problem is they're a little bit too tall. You know, in an ideal world, they just slide right in here, and then I'd have my brackets in place. This would be on this side, right? That would be in a perfect world. It's not a perfect world, so that's not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is probably cut this. Problem is they're a little bit too tall. Okay, so what I'm going to do is leave the lower location as is, but I'm going to remove the outer skin part, this portion, right along there. Cut that all out, right along these welds, and I'll keep this inner bracket, this part for strength, you know, structural support, and this is what I need. And then I'm going to remove all this and then weld plate onto it, you know, redo that in plate. And then but I also have to shorten it or decrease the height of it, so I'm gonna have to cut off that much probably, just so that it'll slide nicely inside there, and then I can just bolt it right up. So all that for this piece. All right, so you can see I cut off that angled part of the bumper, off of the skin off the bumper, and what I'm gonna have to do now is create a little template just to fill in this area. You know, I'll probably take a little piece of cardboard or paper and just square it off, see how much of a triangle of steel I need, and fill this in. And then this part is gonna have to be cut down just so that it slides into the winch bumper that I bought, and it fits the Jeep TJ frame rails, you know. But before I can do any of that, I don't know how far this bracket is going to be extended out of the front of the G-wagon. I don't know how far I'm going to have to extend the bumper out. You know, it's not a direct application, so I plan on getting a winch on there. And before I decide to make these brackets, I'm gonna probably want to mount the winch on there first, just so I know I don't have any clearance issues. You know, I want to make sure that everything fits perfectly, and so I'm gonna have to order a winch. And I found a decent winch, built with relatively high quality for super cheap. So it's a Smitty built winch. And I don't want to spend, you know, $800, $900 on a winch for the Zombie Hunter. I like having one on there. I don't know how much I'm going to use it, but I do also want one that's quality. And so, like, there's other ones you can buy that are low cost, you know, like the Badlands ones you see at Harbor Freight and stuff like that. They're cheap, but they're also built kind of cheap. And this one has awesome reviews. A lot of guys, you know, like on different forums and things like that, they use the Smitty built one, and so, you know, it's a lot of bang for the buck. I think it's like $299. You can't go wrong for $299 getting a nice strong electric winch. So I'm gonna do that. Once that comes in, then I'll be able to modify these brackets more and fit them, and then get the bumper on.